Hello, hello, hello. Hope you guys are doing awesome. This week we are looking at the book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. And if that name Keller sounds familiar, it's probably because you've seen one of their agents or their signs in the real estate industry, because Gary Keller is a co-founder of Keller Williams. If not, it's one of, if not the largest real estate companies in the whole United States. Anyways, this is a phenomenal book. Just read it on the plane on our way to Bahamas a couple of weeks ago. And I think the whole premise of it in one little note or quote gives it all away. But let's take a look at some tips and kind of a review of the book together. So when he was building his business and getting stagnant and frustrated, he worked with some business coaches and he sat there and thought about his business. And he figured out one of the most important things that he could do was get some more agents and leaders and really train and develop them and the top people to expand out the business and the brand, and it really just multiplied from there on. So here's what he came down to as his business principle. I think if you just listen to this first 2 minutes and walk away, this is all you need. But it's, what's the one thing you can do this week such that by doing it, everything else would be easier or unnecessary? So what's the one thing you could do this week or right now that everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? That's what you want to focus on, okay? So he says, where I had huge success, I had narrowed my concentration to one thing. And where my success varied, my focus had two. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy to have to-do lists and then never really accomplish the main objective. Hey, remember this, guys. No one succeeds alone. In business, in sport, in life, even an individual athlete like Pete Sampras or Tiger Woods or Serena Williams, they had a whole team of people supporting them. Diet, nutrition, sponsorships, coaching, conditioning that got them to where they're at. Hey, achievers operate differently. They have an eye for the essential. They pause just long enough to decide what matters and then allow what matters to drive their day. Achievers do sooner what others plan to do later and defer, perhaps indefinitely what others do sooner. The difference isn't in intent, in right of way. Achievers always work from a clear sense of priority. So do you have your priorities listed? And look, a lot of this is business talk, but think about in faith and family and fitness, where are those priorities for you? And what's the one thing there? Hey, there's a picture here. You probably got to get the book to really understand it, but it talks about the to-do list. And someone's to-do list looks like this: could do, could do, could do, should do, could do, should do, could do, should do, should do, could do. And guess what people usually pick on those lists? The easiest and the most comfortable. And let's say they have a list of 10 or 15 things. Most of the time they run out of time before it even gets to the harder, most important things. So your list should be narrowed down to the should do, should do, should do, should do. And then if there's extra time, do the could do's or want to's or the easy, right? Another way of looking at that is, if you're trying to fill up a fish tank, and there's studies and things written about this, and let's say you have a bunch of rocks and sand and middle rocks and big rocks and little and all that stuff. And if you just start saying, okay, fill up this tank, and you start pulling from different piles, or you want to do the medium rocks first and then some sand and then the big rock over here, what happens when you get halfway through or near the end, there's no more room left. And you say, this is impossible, or I can't fill up this tank. But if you start with the big rocks, then the medium, then the small, then the sand, it will all be in there snug and tightly. So what are the big rocks in your life, with your priorities? Another way of looking at that is eat the big frog first, or do the nasty first. The thing that's most important and harder, do that when you have more energy, capacity, and focus, because as the day and night goes on, all that's going to wean down. So the big ideas from here is go small. Don't focus on being busy. Focus on being productive. Allow what matters most to drive your day. Go extreme. Once you've figured out what actually matters, keep asking what matters most until there's nothing but one thing left. That core activity goes at the top of your success list. Okay. So, is this what matters most? No, this is more important. Okay. Is there anything more important than this? Okay, that's going to go to the top. Once you've got down to nope, this is the most important thing, that's your one thing. And then you can go down to your second thing, third thing later on. Okay. He says here it takes an average of 66 days to acquire a new habit. Now, a lot of times you've heard 31 days, 21 days, but really it's got to be in there longer to where it's truly habit, to where you just on autopilot doing that and you're more comfortable doing something, even if it was once uncomfortable. So really stick with things 2-3 months. So in our business, a lot of times we're talking about 90-day sprints, new habits, more activity, being more uncomfortable for 90 days, 3 months, and then look back and assess and how can you adjust for the next 90 days. Anyone can stay focused for a short period of time. So if you want to get the most out of your day, do your most important work, your one thing, early before your willpower is drawn out. And that was to my point of earlier. So think about this. Don't fear big. You got to fear the mediocrity, okay? Fear waste. Fear the lack of living to your fullest. When we fear big, we either consciously or subconsciously work against it. We either run toward lesser outcomes and opportunities, or we simply run away from the big ones. If courage isn't the absence of fear, but moving past it, then thinking big isn't the absence of doubt, but moving past them. Only living big will let you experience your true life and work potential. That's huge right there, guys. If you didn't get that or that didn't make sense, listen to that several times. That's huge right there. So think big. Avoid incremental thinking that simply asks, what do I do next? That is, at best, the slow lane to success, and at worst, the off-ramp. Ask bigger questions. A good rule of thumb is to double down everywhere in your life. If your goal is 10, ask the question, how can I reach 20? Set a goal so far above what you want that you'll be building a plan that practically guarantees your original goal. Grant Cardone always talks about this, 10x your goal. Get bold, shoot way above it, and even if you miss, you end up here, which is usually way above your original target. So maybe you have in bodybuilding weight loss goals. Maybe you want to be 190 pounds, and you're at 220 now. Don't shoot for 190, shoot for 180 or 170, and then slowly, in a smart fashion, maybe a quarter pound a week, get up to the 190 desired. And there's a rubber band effect where people can go here and then they usually snap back. So if you go here and snap back to 190, you're happy, okay? Don't order from the menu. Apple's celebrated 1997 Think Different ad campaign, which featured icons like Ali, Dylan, Einstein, Hitchcock, Picasso, Gandhi, and others who saw things differently and who went on to transform the world as we know it. The point was that they didn't choose from the available options. They imagined outcomes that no one else had. They ignored the menu and ordered their own creations. As the ad reminds us, people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the only ones who do. Act bold. Big thoughts go nowhere without bold action. Once you've asked a big question, pause to imagine what life looks like with the answer. If you still can't imagine it, go study people who have already achieved it. What are the models, systems, habits, and relationships of other people who have found the answer? As much as we'd like to believe we're all different, what consistently works for others will almost always work for us. So look, if you're in college or thinking about going to college or you're thinking about going into business or things like that, find a mentor, find somebody further ahead than you, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and ask them hard questions and really analyze, are they living the lifestyle, faith, family, fitness, finances, and more that I really want to have? And if so, hang on to their coattails, ask them a million questions, and follow their advice to the T. If not, run for the hills. Same thing goes with marriage and relationship advice. If the people are just good at getting divorces, how are they going to teach you about marriage? They might teach you what not to do, right? But choose your mentors wisely. Okay, Let's look at the next one, guys. Look, we got about 10 more pages of tips here. So hang in there, guys, and really act on this. So we're talking about the one thing. What's one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else is easier or unnecessary? So let's say it's your personal relationships. What's the one thing you can improve or do or put in place that will just make your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your husband or your wife or your kids that much further along with you, where things become easier, smoother, better, and other things become unnecessary? Maybe it's a date night once a week. Maybe it's sitting down to breakfast or dinner or lunch with your kids and talking. Maybe it's doing a homework session with them. Maybe it's walking around the block for 20 minutes with some of those people and just talking and exercising. In your business, it's probably leverage. Like he said, hey, I got 14 superstars and I made them better. Maybe it's leverage with automated tools. So think about that. Hey, the big picture, what's my one thing to achieve this massive goal that's further down the line? And then what's the one thing small today I can do that starts getting towards that? That's really the way to look at this, okay? All right. Economists have long known that even though people prefer big rewards over small ones, they have an even stronger preference for present rewards over future ones, even when the future rewards are much bigger. It's an ordinary occurrence, oddly named hyperbolic discounting. The farther away someone is from the reward in the future, the smaller the immediate motivation. So that's why you have to have a huge goal, but really break it down to the now. Okay. And so, there's carrot and stick principles and things like that that rub off. But if you're getting someone taking the steps to get to the big goal, they'll get there. Hey, goal setting. You got to have a someday goal, which is huge. Break it down to a 5-year goal, to a 1-year goal, to a monthly goal, to a weekly goal, to a daily goal, to a right now goal, and you'll hit all those, okay? I have this dialogue with people every day. It's particularly effective when they ask me what they should do. I turn it around and say, before I answer your question, let me ask you something. Where are you going and where do you want to be someday? Without fail, as I walk them through goal setting to the now, they catch on quickly and come up with their own answers. And by that time, they tell me the one thing they should be focused on right now. They catch on quickly and come up with their own answers. And by that time, they tell me the one thing they should be focused on right now. Be a maker in the morning and a manager in the afternoon. Your goal is one and done. But if you don't time block each day to your one thing won't become a done thing. Last two, accountable people achieve results only others dream of. This is his accountability chart here. If you can't see it, go pick up the book. You'll love it. You'll figure out all the details that I left out that really hit home with you. The truth is, it's a package deal. When you strive for greatness, chaos is guaranteed to show up. Might show up. Maybe you'll run into something. No. Guaranteed to show up. Okay. In fact, other areas of your life may experience chaos in direct proportion to the time you put into your one thing. It's important for you to accept this instead of fighting it. Oscar-winning filmmaker Francis Ford Coppola warns us that anything you build on a large scale or with intense passion invites chaos. In other words, get used to it and get over it. So guys, I challenge you, put in the comments below here, what's your one thing? Maybe a list of several things. In my business life, my one thing is. In my personal life, my one thing is. In my faith, my one thing is. In my fitness, my one thing is. Give us some ideas here, guys. And we love to chat back and forth, learn with you, and share ideas. But guys, we got to implement this. So what's the one thing you can do right now that everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? Guys, be great and follow me in the pursuit of greatness.